Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the cEDH cast. My name is Ian, and with me as always is my co-host Braden.
Hey y'all.
We have a very exciting episode this week. We are going to be talking to a wonderful member of our community and a member of the CAG. But before we get into any of that, Braden, let's do a patron shout out.
All right, so we have our patron shout out this week is Jordan Harrison. Jordan Harrison has been our patron for literally a day. So thank you, Jordan. And we appreciate your patronage.
Thank you very much, Jordan. And we appreciate all the patrons, especially during this really hard time. And for all of those who are not only joining, but sticking with us, you're greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Quickly, we're going to do our social media shout out. We can be found on many places such as Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, Discord, and SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Spotify. So if you're in any of those places, you can hear our lovely voices. To find out all of our content, definitely check us out on YouTube because we've been doing a lot of streams and gameplay lately.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you're interested in Paco or Yuriko or the new Evolution deck, there's gameplay for all of those decks.
It's so fun. But let's introduce our guest. Our guest this week is Shivam Bhatt. Shivam, do you want to say hi?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. For those of us in the community, what would be like the quick 30-second version of why you are who you are?
Why I am who I am. Well,
yeah, it's the best I got, man.
Give the first
400 billion years ago, when the Lord Brahma opened his eyes, the universe was created. And of that, a lotus bloomed in his navel. And from that, Lord Vishnu awoke. And when Lord Vishnu awoke and created the three spheres of creation, among them, what like how I came to be is a long story, maybe. So
sounds like a good story.
Yeah, I was into it, man. I was like, oh, how much does he know?
Yeah, so my name's Shivam. I run a podcast called Casual Magic, and before that, I was a co-host of a podcast called Commanderin. And last year I was on the Loading Ready Run pre-release for Ravnica 2, whatever that was called. And then at that same time, I got a message from Sheldon Menery of the Commander Rules Committee saying, hey, we're thinking of starting an advisory group. What do you think of this? And I'm like, that's a good idea. Somebody should advise you idiots what to do. And then he was like, now, why shouldn't we consider you for this? And I'm like, because I don't know crap about EDH. Why would you have me? But that's actually not true. But the thing is, though, the fact that they did email me and the fact that they did ask me to disqualify myself was definitely true. But I didn't call them idiots because that's not a very nice thing to do. But ultimately, what it boiled down to is I have been playing Commander for about a decade, and I am a hardcore casual. Which is to say, I'm deeply invested in Magic. I've got a ton of cards. I've been playing since the dark, right? Like, I know the game inside and out, but I also don't value winning at all. I don't value playing well. I don't value things like efficiency or card draw. What I'm here for is because Magic is the best way to hang out with your friends for 3-4 hours and just do cool, stupid things. If I win accidentally, that's awesome. And I mean, I'm not going to say I don't play powerful decks because, like, I've played Elf Ball. I've played, like, some of my decks will crush you. And by design, right? But that's going into it knowing that, oh, we're all here to just go ham on each other. But most of my decks are like, look, I got these 13 cards in a row. That means that I can do this thing that'll make me a 1/1 counter every 4 turns. Yay! And if it works, I've won. Yeah, like that's my whole thing. And the thing is, so I'm pretty famous on Twitter for like talking a lot. And like I'm a priest in my other life, and I'm also like, and I tell a lot of stories on Twitter and things, but also it's just, I am very good at communicating and talking to the people and getting across what they want in a concise way to other people. And plus being, an Indian guy, it helps that I'm a diverse voice that brings a different perspective to Commander than a lot of people do. And I hold down for the kitchen table. And a lot of the content creators tend to lean more towards, I'm not going to say cEDH because obviously that's not true, but definitely the spikier side, definitely the more competitive,
the high power,
more like like more polished, right? Like the people who
or
want to
optimized.
Yeah, exactly.
Optimized, yes.
You guys are optimized, but these are people who are like, hey, take these bad cards out and put these good cards in. And I'm like, hey, take these good cards out and put these bad cards that are almost as good but have better art in, or whatever, right?
Yeah. Right.
And the rules committee, which runs Commander, they value that kind of perspective because I'm basically 80% of the player base, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
one thing.
Right.
So I realize that I've been talking for like 4 minutes by myself, but
You're fine.
if you don't mind me
That's-
tangenting for just a second about EDH,
Yeah, you're good.
basically, one of the things that we who are deeply online and deeply connected with Commander tend to lose sight of is the fact that, okay, so first off, here's a fact. Commander is the most played format in Magic the Gathering. We know this to be true, right? Like, everybody, Wizards of the Coast down, acknowledges Commander is the most popular way to play Magic. And you know why this is? Because Commander players play Magic, Vintage players play Magic, Modern players play Magic, Standard players play Magic, Legacy players, Pioneer players. Everybody's got a Commander deck, right?
Yeah.
But the Standard player is not walking around with a Legacy deck. The Pauper player is not walking around with the Vintage deck.
Very true.
But
Very true.
everybody's got an EDH deck. Even Canadian Highlander, even Brawl, even Oathbreaker people have their 100-card
Yep.
piles, right?
Yeah.
Everybody plays EDH. And the
Exactly.
thing that Wizard realized is that EDH is the number one way to introduce other people to Magic as well. Because when you're sitting there with your friends, EDH is multiplayer, so it takes away the pressure of I'm one-on-one versus you, which means that you don't want to ask me questions how to play because I'm incentivized to beat you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And the interesting thing about even in like competitive EDH, sometimes that comes up. Like I'll ask the table, like, "What do you guys think I should do here?" And like, I have to be aware that they're trying to manipulate me a little bit, but also like, there's generally a culture of like being honest and helping people self-improve because we're all there to like.
Yeah, we had a whole episode about cultivating our play groups, and it's like you have to really fight that counterintuitive notion, and we have this whole conversation about how like you can have that conversation with people like the first 20, 30, even 40 times they play, and then by the time that you're done having those conversations, like now you're sitting across the table from a really great player.
Basically, the way it works here is that what we realized and what they realized is that when you're teaching people with Commander, you're showing them a story, right? Like,
Sure.
you've got a general, and the deck supports this general. And the general goes out there and fights for you and does these things, and they're like, oh, but complexity, oh no, they're not vanilla cards, what are we going to do? It's like, you idiots, the people playing Magic know how to read, right? And they know that each card in Magic is always independent, stands alone. You can read it and says, if you put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, draw a card, and then pay X, do -1/-1 counter on target creature. Oh, so if I pay X, I can put a negative on that and draw a card? Hey, I get it because I'm an intelligent human being who knows how to play games, right? And so, like, when you're teaching EDH, you've got a synergistic block of cards that is telling a story that people can use to understand the complexity and why people play Magic. And because it's a multiplayer game, half of it kind of feels like I'm playing not against you, I'm playing against the table, and the table is decentralized and kind of like agnostic in the sense that I can still ask you for help. I'm going to try to fight you eventually, but I'm still, right now, I've got two other opponents that I'm fighting against. And hey, maybe you can show me what these things do. And it's got this just collegial nature to it. And so from that, like I was saying, going back all the way to the beginning, one of the things that we who are online don't realize, and that everybody's like, oh, you're ignoring this subgroup or that subgroup or, you know, this whole community of players, is that Commander is so big and the player base is so large that Wizards of the Coast themselves has to approximate how many Commander players there are. Like, because Commander is every kitchen table, and I'm not sitting at your kitchen table with a DCI number, you know, sending in my records, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, there's 40,000 people on my subreddit, I'm like, yeah, but there are literally 400,000 people on the kitchen table out there. You know, 40 like millions of players out there.
I mean, I feel like way more, yeah.
I remember I was talking to Toby about this like during the whole Flash debacle that's now finally over. And like usually people use the term level up moment to talk about like your skill or something part of the game, but like a level up moment for me as just like a Commander player was realizing that like 90% of Commander players are not playing like multiple times a week. Most Commander players are playing a couple times a month, and so
if that,
like getting rid of one card like Iona, for example, that's a card like you fought to have banned, like that can like improve people's personal time that is incredibly valuable because they only get to play so often. That was once I realized that, like, it made me change my whole opinion on the ban list.
Like, that is so, I mean, that's one of the things I try to impress on people is that, look, guys, you guys play Commander 3 times a week on Discord and then once on Friday at your sword, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are not the person that I'm here to represent. I'm here to represent
Yeah.
the people who've got a Commander deck, go out once a month to go play with their friends maybe for 2 or 3 hours. Like, I am one of the most invested Commander players there is. I'm on the friggin' committee, for God's sakes, right? And
Yeah.
I still only get to play Commander once a month because I'm an
Yeah.
adult with a job and a family and a 6-year-old, right? Like,
Yeah.
when am I going to carve out 3 hours a week every 4 days to play Commander? Come on, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is that a lot of people, let's say 90% of the players of Magic the Gathering in the world, for them, this is not the all-consuming hobby it is for us. For them,
Right.
this is the fun thing they get to do once in a while. Like, oh, hey, let's have movie night. Oh, hey, let's have Magic night. Oh, hey, let's have Catan night. You know, it's a thing you do. And
Yeah.
for those people, those are the people whose voice that I bring out and I try to uplift when I'm at the meeting.
I think they need it. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
like, effectively, so if I can, I guess, jump ahead on your schedule a smidge. So,
Sure.
the commander, right? Like, what is commander's structure? You got the rules committee. What is the rules committee? 4 dudes. 4 dudes who've been around playing commander since forever. If you listen to the Casual Magic podcast interview I did with Gavin Duggan of the rules committee, he goes into the history of it and how, like, basically Sheldon Menery comes from Alaska, where his group has found this game that they found in and like Inquest issue 4 or something. They're like, hey, if you got 100 singleton cards with an Elder Dragon, blah blah blah, and then they bring it down. The judges who play it at the Pro Tour behind the scenes sit and formulate it, make it into a thing that's playable. Did you know the original version
Yeah.
of Commander made you play singleton down to basic lands?
I did know that. Yeah. And there wasn't there also like once someone had a commander, you had to like go on a website and register yourself as like that's my commander. Isn't that like
I think maybe when it was just one group. It was
yeah,
like
I think
that,
when
but
it was like 1 or 2 groups in the
when
very,
it's like
very
4
beginning.
people and you can get away with that. But no, like
Yeah.
there were
That's so
things
funny.
like you could have Raphaelis as your commander because every commander had to cost a minimum of 6, which means that your 2 mana casting cost thing had 4 generic cost attached to it.
That's balancing right there. That's
Yeah, and they were like, this is stupid and let's not do that. How about just commander tax? And it's like, yes, let's. But anyways,
Yes,
they
that
polished it, they
thing.
made it into a thing, and they built a rules around it with the intent of Commander is a casual format, and they don't mean playing scrubs who like I just learned how to play Magic levels of casual. They mean when the vintage pro is walking off the Pro Tour and wants to unwind Friday night, but doesn't want to play for stakes. That is casual, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're just gonna pull out these decks. We're all pros. We know how to play, but we just want to jam for funsies. That is
think
what casual EDH means.
yeah, the number of like truly like non-casual games of EDH is probably like in the hundreds a year. Like I can't imagine
Yeah.
how many people are playing games of Commander for money.
Very few.
It's like hundreds
Well,
of games.
let's think
maybe?
about it like this. DDM was one of the biggest paper events,
Yeah.
and we had 60 people, right?
Yeah, like
So,
that's like the biggest ever in paper, and 60 people showed up. Like it's just
yeah.
Yeah, because
Commander's
who
a
the hell
casual
wants
format.
to pay for money, man? Like I just want to do the cool thing and go. I mean, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at all these casual scrubs there." I'm like, "Dog, that deck is foiled out. It might just have like Tulsamir as a commander, but
I
it's
was gonna
got
say-
friggin' like that's a foil mana crypt that casual scrub is playing."
like I've had it be like, I could upgrade my preordained to a ponder, but I have the dual deck preordained and I only have the M10 ponder, so I guess I'm gonna have to keep my dual deck preordained with the cool glass art. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair trade. Like those, I mean, I think everyone sometimes does that. Like I've never met anyone who's like, yeah, I make only the coolest of spiky choices.
Yeah,
Everyone likes,
I mean Shaper, who's like the premier like go-to cEDH person. He even told me himself he has his beautiful foil basics in his Urza deck, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I'll make Arkham's Astrolabe a non-bow if it means I can't play these lands.
Dude, all I'm saying is that I have a Tajik deck, the old Tajik from Dragon's Maze, that is
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
one of the scrub, like on a 1 to 10 scale, it's a 2 levels of like just super, just trash level
is
token
it like
soldier
battalion
deck.
tribal?
It's soldier
it-
tokens tribal.
Oh,
And
okay. That's
it's because I wanted to use Caldoran Outpost as my commander, but you can't do that.
yeah.
But this deck, it just makes soldier tokens, but all my soldier tokens are hand-drawn by Wizard of the Coast employees. All of my lands are
Whoa,
foiled
that's
out
sick.
lands. All of my cards are like, as fancy as I can. I've got like my Beta Soul Ring in it, like
Yeah.
this deck is the most gilded, gold blinged out piece of crap that has ever been played on an EDH table. Yeah,
It's like when people bling out their pauper decks except in Commander, like Pauper is still like sometimes a spiky format or often a spiky
Dude,
format.
my Pauper Elves deck uses beta Llanowar Elves, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's great.
Look, when you've been playing as long as I have, you've just got crap sitting around.
You've just got beta Llanowar Elves, yeah.
I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you? They were commons, right?
Yeah, right.
That's
Exactly.
so funny.
Right? Like, so the rules
They're in the
committee-
bulk box.
The rules committee's intent, and this will all come around to Flash and things.
Sure.
Basically, is that like we want to make a format where people don't have to feel they have to continually keep up with other people. We want people to be able to sit there and say, like, yo, man, make your combo, make your deck, do the fun thing, do the Timmy thing, do the Johnny thing, even do the Spike thing if you want to, but just know that you can always just sit and jam and there's no penalty for your creativity, right?
I think that's
Always.
important.
Yeah.
And we want people to, and like, because the thing is, like, that casual player is sitting there is like, yo, you know what, man? I cracked this legend that I totally love, right? Like, I don't know, who is that vampire chick?
Oh, Drana?
Yeah, like Drana, or like
Yeah.
Olivia Voldaren, right? Like, oh man, I got
Sure.
Olivia Voldaren, and I want to make a tribal vampires deck, and I'm just gonna grab my Senger vampire here and my Nocturnus and all this random crap,
Yeah.
and yay, I've got a vampires deck. We want them to be able to sit there and feel like, oh well, I guess I need to upgrade all of my stuff and put in like Lion's Eye Diamond or whatever the hell. And it's like, okay, maybe you don't need to have a Monocrypt in there.
Yeah.
But you can have a Soul Ring. It's a couple of bucks here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would be interested in seeing, like, this is a huge off swing, but I'd be interested in seeing a world where they never reprinted Soul Ring in the precons and like Soul Ring was like a $200 card. That'd be
So,
awful. Like,
one of the
I
things
love
that people
Soul Ring.
ask me all the time is, ban Soul Ring. Why haven't you banned Soul Ring? Soul Ring is the most broken card in Magic. Why is it legal? And I'm like, A, yes,
can't.
it is the most powerful and broken card in Magic. B, that's exactly why it's not banned. Soul Ring is the most fun card in Magic.
I
in my
agree.
opinion. I love Soul Ring.
Oh, it's so fun.
I-
It's so fun. I love
It
it.
feels real
Speak-
good.
Speaking of bling, I have the Judge promo Soul Ring signed by Sheldon Menery. It is a very valuable personal possession.
That is one of the few cards that I was like on my personal bucket list to get eventually, is
It's
a
so
Judge promo Soul Ring. But
so pretty.
it's the old art with the new frame. I need it so bad.
I know, right?
Oh,
And when I got it signed, I was with a friend of mine. He's like, you know, that's worthless now, right? And I was like, no.
are you kidding?
This is
No,
so
it's worth
valuable.
everything to me.
That was me.
Like, you're saying that as if I'm ever going to part with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing, though, is that, like, originally Soul Ring was one of those cards that was, like, iconic in EDH because you couldn't play it anywhere else. And I'm talking before Wizards got its hands on EDH. Like, when EDH was still EDH and it was just, like,
Rip.
people playing Commander, everybody's like, hey, look, Soul Ring, you can play it in Vintage Cube and this weirdo 100-card format. Yeah, finally I can use Soul Ring. I remember Soul Ring. I love Soul Ring. And then when Wizards comes to the rules committee and they're like, hey, we want to take our arch enemy plane chase spot and we want to make Commander precons. You can't call it Elder Dragon Highlander because of rules and because of legal reasons. Change the name and we want to make precon decks for it. And the rules committee was like, okay, we'll change the name. Hell yeah. And they're like, and we're going to reprint Soul Ring. And they're like, whoa, hang on.
Sorry, what? Yeah.
Like, are you sure? Because we'll totally ban it. Like, it's fine. It's a strong card. We'll get rid of it. And they're like, yeah, but Soul Ring is cool. And it makes EDH really fun. And, like, people love playing Soul Ring. And so Wizards basically kind of brute force Soul Ring into the EDH precons. And once they did that, the kind of, like, cat's out of the bag. Because what are you going to do? Ban a card out of the precon? And that card
Yeah,
being
right.
Soul Ring? Are you...
Yeah.
And now it's, what are you going to do? Ban a card out of every precon ever?
Ban it,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And now it's like 11 years later. It's like, okay, buddy, you going to ban Soul Ring now? There's tens of thousands of them out
Yeah.
there, and they're in literally every deck.
And they're all worth like $6, despite the fact there's
Like,
millions
they
of
print
them.
them every year in 5 friggin' decks. So there's like hundreds of thousands of Soul Rings every year, and people can't get enough of them. You know what would happen if we banned Soul Ring? I would have to get protection. People would bomb my house. Like,
It'd be worse than the Paradox Engine banning.
oh my god, dude.
Oof.
Paradox Engine was one thing because I was like really invested internet people getting pissed off. Banning Soul Ring would have like casuals looking up the phone book to hunt me down. To
Yeah. This is the second time I've played this game, and you know what, Shivam? You're dead.
Dude, I'm just telling you, Soul Ring is the most beloved cards in Magic. Soul Ring is one of the most
Same,
powerful,
yeah.
fun cards to play. Dropping it on turn 1 and then being able to ramp out into your Serendipity free just feels real good. And then,
Yeah.
like, you know, but you know who gets mad about Soul Ring? The dude who's sitting there is like playing 4 times a week. I'm like, well, yeah, you're mad about Soul Ring. You're playing literally like 80% more Magic than literally
Yeah.
everybody.
I don't know. I play a lot of Magic, and I still love Sol Ring.
I'm like, Sol Ring is my favorite card of all time. I'd quit the group before I let them ban it. Sol Ring and Doubling Season are my two hills.
I prefer Mana Crypt just a little bit because it lets me cast my Time Twister, which is like my favorite Magic card for real.
Oh, get out of here.
I love Time Twister.
This
Everyone
is how I
draws
know that I'm
cards.
not in my
Get
zone
ready.
anymore. When the
Yeah,
motherfucker's
right.
like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drop my Mana Crypt to cast a Time Twister. I'm like, oh, that's the world we're in now. Okay.
Oh no! Get out, back out.
It's so fun.
If we could change things, I would make Sol Ring the Power 9, not Time Twister.
I agree.
I don't.
But then it
I
would be
don't
banned.
argue against
Yeah, that was
Probably
one of the
be
other
banned.
things. People are like, why is Time Twister the only Power 9 not banned? I'm like, have you read Time Twister? Do you
It's a
think
fun
that's,
Magic
like,
card. Have you read the other
Yeah.
Power 9?
Yeah, right.
Time Twister's
You
not
think-
hurting anybody, man.
You think extra turn cards are bad now? Look at Time Walk. You had
Yeah,
Spellseeker
exactly.
for Time Walk. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
I know. We're still playing the 5 mana ones in our format, so clearly Time Walk would not
oh
be
my
okay.
god, dude. If in a world where we're still playing Time Stretch, you think Time Walk is okay? Hey, you know what would be awesome? Let's play Time Walk and then Lutri.
Oh my god.
Twitch.
Whenever someone was, I saw like a couple people like, I don't think Lutri seems that good. And I was like, I
Are
don't think
you
you've
dumb?
played Is It before.
Yeah. we literally were like, think the first cEDH build to be to like, yo, so like you all understand this is not fucking okay, right?
Like this card is not like let me tell you another story. First off, okay, I guess let me explain the CAG for 10 seconds. So basically last year, whatever, so for years and years and years, everybody's looked at the rules committee and been like, who the hell are these assholes and why are they banning cards? And like this
Yeah.
card is totally fine for me and the 3 people I play with. And I'm like, yeah, but and they're like, oh, Sheldon Menery must have lost to this card. That's why it's banned. And that is like seriously the silliest possible way to think about things, because
I
these
know.
guys have to look at the way these cards are impacting millions of players, right? And it's not just like, oh yeah, I lost to Braid, so now Braids is banned for everyone. No, it's like,
Yeah.
yo, Braids is a terrible human experience if you drop it out of the command zone. Like, Raphaelos can go infinite literally the turn it comes out, and maybe let's not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so, but the
I
thing
do-
is, they had a, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do think Raphaelos has been surpassed by Sylvala because now Raphaelos draws cards for some reason. I don't quite know why.
Yeah, but that's an argument to ban Salvala and not to free Raphaelos.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's one of
Yeah.
the things people always are like, yo, what about Salvala, or what about these other things, or that stupid 2 mana card that just came out? The new dude from
Kinnan.
yeah, who's just absurd, right?
Yeah.
But like,
Why does he work with eggs?
why does he work? Period.
Yeah.
You know, Simic hasn't really gotten enough stuff lately, everyone.
Yeah,
I think we're
like,
fine.
gosh, won't somebody think of the green? but the thing though is like, yeah, that's the thing. People are like, oh, you should, free Raphaelos. I'm like, no, I should ban Salvala. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do that. Don't
Yeah.
start any rumors yet. But the thing
Yeah.
is, so the rules committee, as you guys know, had basically the world's worst reputation, and they were like, we need to do something. We're all getting old. People think we're out of touch, and that's not true. But you know what is? There's a huge community of people who make content and who also understand Commander intimately. And so they
Great,
got us
yeah.
together. Effectively, it felt a little bit like a super team being put together,
The
Like-
Avengers.
A little Avengers.
I mean, I feel a little
yeah.
cheesy saying that because I'm one of them. I was like obviously the Ant-Man of the group, right? Like,
Yes.
like the extra.
Or the Falcon, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm like the token. Okay, we need a 14th person. But like, look, Josh Lee Kwai. If you had a commander advisory group without a member of Command Zone, nobody would give it credibility. Let's be 100%, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And Josh is one of the best deck designers I've ever met in my life, and the guy knows the format inside and out. But he plays at a very spiky level.
Well,
Yeah.
comparatively.
I mean, look, I'm treating cEDH as a different world than the worlds
Sure,
that we're
sure.
talking about here. And we can talk about that later. But the idea, though, is that, like, until I joined the CAG, I didn't know what cEDH even was. And I'm one of the most invested people out there, right? But, like, for a long time, I thought cEDH just meant Pub Stomper with a fancier, nicer title. But that's obviously not true. But the thing is, right, like, so they got Josh. They got Rachel Agnes, who is a former writer at CFB and who is now at WotC, because she is one of the spikiest, like, vintage player level characters I know. Like, she's just
Yeah.
incredibly powerful. Like, people are like, wow, Rachel plays Magic? I don't understand. She just shit posts on Twitter a lot. I'm like, no, you don't understand. She is one of the best Magic players I've ever played against. She is like, will dismantle you.
She wrote cEDH articles before like anyone was doing anything about cEDH that
Oh,
was
yeah.
like associated with Wizards or
Yeah.
Commander.
No, she
really.
understands you guys intimately well. And she
Yeah.
also understands, like, I mean, she has this knowledge of hardcore Magic interactions like you. I mean, like,
Yeah.
look, dude, we did a thing with Brawl once, and I invited her down, and we filmed some videos of us playing Brawl together. And she just obliterated. I mean, like, she is so good at literally Magic, just period. And then, like, they had Ron Foster, who is an old guy who was just one of the kindest, nicest dudes. People don't really know him, but he's the guy who introduced Commander to the country of Japan and the continent of Asia. You know, like,
Yeah, I'd heard that about
like
him.
he's
Yeah.
like one of the dudes who's been there since literally EDH started. So he knew the
Right.
format. And they got Charlotte Sable, who runs the Judge blog and whose knowledge of the rules is basically unsurpassed.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else was in the initial batch? Stiborski, who's like,
Stibbs is great.
longtime EDH
Yeah.
writer. He knows the format. I mean, he's hard casual too, but he's also definitely like of the, we need to have a space where we can be non-competitive, period.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've actually played cEDH. I'm not sure we played casual together, but we played cEDH together at DC, and
Yep.
Stibbs is like one of my favorites. Stibbs
He's
is
the
great.
gentlest and kindest dude, and I love him. And he's got, I mean, we don't always agree on things, which is good. We should never. But also just, his decks are fun. It's so much fun. The guy knows how to play.
Yeah.
And he knows how to, get his thoughts out. And then they called me because I talk a lot. I know a lot of people. I have a perspective on the game, which is intimate familiarity with Magic and with Commander, but from the position of a hardcore fanboy. I'm
Yeah.
the guy I love Magic. I just love being here. I love playing the game. I don't need to, I'm here for the love of the game, right? Like, and just like,
Makes
I don't
sense.
need to be good. I just want to make my cool theme deck and do the dumb, silly thing and win. And
Right,
it's like, I'm here for the joy of Magic and for the scrubs. So they got us together. And then we also added Olivia Gobert-Hicks about 6 months in because she is
She's
phenomenal.
wonderful.
And she knows how to build decks like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And she only knows how to play EDH. She doesn't know how to play anything else. Like, she started
Yeah.
with EDH and that's her world.
We so I got to be part of like a small like panel type circle at GPDC where like we got to talk with like the people who were on the CAG who were there and Sheldon and Olivia. I don't know if Olivia had just been announced to be on the CAG or was
I think she was like a little bit beforehand.
yeah
Right. I think.
and she was like clearly very knowledgeable about Commander.
Oh, dude. She
And her
knows.
streams are incredibly popular. She plays with tons of people from across the community. She's great.
I mean, like, she likes to play it off as like, oh, I don't know the game. I mean, like, no, dude, this woman knows. She knows Commander like she knows how to breathe, right? Like, she understands.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say is like when this whole Flash thing started going down, I reached out to her and like I gave her like an essay on Flash and she like read it and asked questions about it and she was extremely respectful and kind and like listened and I really really appreciated it. So like I'm so happy. Like I've talked to most of the CAG. No one on the CAG I've spoken to is not that way. All the CAG I've experienced with are all like that, which is like a really positive sign.
Agreed.
We were brought on because they wanted to have outreach to the people. And we're all like, a lot of us are just platform holders who've been got like big podcasts. I was obviously on Commander, which was a huge podcast at the time. And like, I just have, and like, Josh obviously has game nights, et cetera, et cetera. And it's
Sure.
just like, they wanted us because people reach out to us because people aren't reaching out to them, right? Like the Commander Rules
Yes.
Committee felt like they were untouchably distant. And
They're hard to get a hold of.
well, yeah, I mean, part of that's by design. That's why Sheldon is the only name you know. And part of that is also they're just busy and have things going on, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real people. Yeah.
and it's fine, and that's cool. But they were like, look, we want help. We want to know what the people want. We want to make sure that what we're doing is in line. I mean, look, Scott Larrabee is on the Rules Committee, right? And the Rules Committee, and Scott Larrabee works at Wizards of the Coast. So he also
Yeah.
works on Commander products. He has worked on, he like created Arixmethes, right? And so like
Yeah.
Scott knows both what WotC wants and what he knows what the Rules Committee wants. So they do things and they sync up together. And so every time people are like, oh man, the Rules Committee is a bunch of blowhards and they should go away and we should let WotC control it. I'm like, A, have you seen the cards WotC makes for Commander? Do you really want them to run the format? And B, they literally already do. Like Stibbs and Rachel
Yeah.
both work at WotC. Scott Larrabee works at WotC.
Toby is like a policy the
Toby,
policy writer.
right? Toby created the rules for tournaments, and he does
Yeah.
the rules updates all the time. Gavin
Yeah.
was one of the head judges for decades, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
freaking Sheldon is like judge level 5, judge emeritus, the king of all judges, and also worked at WotC. So, A, WotC controls it. B, WotC doesn't want to control it. They want to have a person that can be, because here's the thing, the relationship between WotC and the rules committee is they talk to each other all the time. Obviously, Scott is literally talking to himself. He is both people. But but what it is that there's this separation, this one-step removal, which means that WotC can have the freedom to make cards that they want to see in Commander. And if they don't work, they can have the rules committee be like, yo, make this thing go away. And if the people get mad, they can be like, yo, the rules committee sorry, they banned it. What are you going to do? And if not, they'll be like, hey, it's great. Like Lutri, so companions, right? Like, let's say at the beginning of April or end of March or something, we had a meeting. We had our commander meeting. So once a quarter, the CAG and the rules committee meets up and we have a meeting. And our meeting is basically like 2 or 3 hours on Discord of us analyzing what the community is talking about, what the hot button issues are, whether cEDH is EDH or not. And I swear to God, it's been literal hundreds of hours of debate on our Discord about what is EDH, who counts as an EDH player. I'm not freaking joking. People are like, oh, they don't think about EDH at all. I'm like, no, you don't get it. We only think about cEDH. They came to us and they're like, Wizards of the Coast has authorized us to show you a card. And we're like, oh, have they? And they pull out this thing and they're like, this is a card coming out in Ikoria. And they want to know, should we ban this or not? They've suggested to us that we should do a 0-day ban. And I was like, A, Wizards of the Coast made a card. B, Wizards of the Coast came to us and said, we want you to ban this. And I'm like, what the hell is this? What in God's name are you putting out?
Yeah.
And then they showed us the text of Lutri. And I just like, are you goddamn kidding me? Like, I read the thing of companion. I'm like, hey, no, we're not having companions in my EDH. 100 cards or die. And like, they're like, okay, well, assume that's off the table. Assume that we are doing companions. And I'm like, hey,
big sad.
Why? What the hell for? But okay, I'll explain why in a second. But the thing is, though, we looked at that and we were like, this card says if you play red and blue and any other color, this is your 8th card.
You get a free card. Yeah.
This is like, that's literally the text of the card. The text reads, if you play red and blue, here's your free 8th card that just also incidentally has things. And it's like, even if it had nothing else, it just says, hey, look, this is a free 3/2 with flash. You'll play it every time. If it's just sitting there, like, everyone's like, oh, no, well, I totally wouldn't play it. Yeah. I'm like, no, you're always going to play a guaranteed 3/2 with flash just there. Mm-hmm. Why the hell wouldn't you? It is like, it is actively bad for you not to have Lutri in your deck at all times when possible.
It was actually really funny because people were arguing with me that day about like why Lutri was fine. And I literally went through the entire, because we have a database of all competitive decks. And I said, okay, here's the new list. And I just went, Najila, Lutri, Kenrith, Lutri, Timna, Crom, Lutri. I just went through the entire thing.
What do you have to take out of your deck? Zero.
Zero.
It's also like
it doesn't take a slot.
It's also like a free counterspell almost. Like when they try to counter your counterspell, you're just like, no, Lutri.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, oh, I forgot that you just get to play that card for free.
Yeah, it's just like, are you sure the other companions are not like this, that they're safe enough for us to let go? And the rules committee and Josh and stuff who had seen it because their agreements are different, they were like, trust me, the other companions are fine. They have hoops that are immense and have to be jumped through. In order, because like, people are like, why wouldn't you just ban Commander outright? And here's the answer. A, companions are one of the marquee mechanics of Ikoria. Ikoria is going to be like a gangbusters set, right? Godzilla, all the everythings we already know. Before, this is all before COVID, so we didn't see the end times coming. But but with that intention, it was like, look, this card, hundreds of thousands of players are going to crack open these packs. They're going to see this amazing card set. Why wouldn't you
get an extra
ban?
commander?
And then they're going to go to their commander deck and be like, oh, I can't. And that's going to be a terrible experience. We don't want to outright negate a whole mess of cards from the marquee mechanic of the hot new set for A, political reasons, because that's a really bad thing to do with your partner. A partner being Wizards of the Coast here. Yeah. And B, it's just a bad feeling, man. You don't want to just open your decks and just realize.
It's like it's one thing if it's Iona, a common, right? Huh? Like if someone builds their deck, right? They read the companion card, right? And they build their deck around the companion card, and then they go to like their FNM or whatever to play their one. So, like not like a tournament at FNM, but just they go to their Friday Night Magic just to play Commander, and they show up with their Lutri deck or whatever, and everyone's like, well, Lutri's back, their Lurrus deck, and they're like, oh, I built my Lurrus deck with Ailey and Lurrus, like I'm so excited to play, and then everyone's like, oh, by the way, that's banned. Like, And they're like, well, at least I have my Jengatha deck. And then everyone's like, oh, that's also banned? Like, it's a pretty bad feeling.
There's no real upside there. And we were like, we can't just, they were like, okay, well, what if we just leave it alone and then ban it with M20? And we're like, dude, people are going to buy this card. Like 100% of people are going to go buy this. This card is going to be worth so much money. And then we're going to just ban it.
When we talked about Lutri, we had like an episode that was like 10 minutes long that was just devoted to Lutri. And like one of the things I said in it was like, I don't envy the rules committee for being put into this situation because basically you're either, you have to ban the card. It's like there really isn't much of an option. And then when it comes to Companion, again, for political reasons, like you have to make Companion work because you have to like, you can't just like say, hey, Wizards, by the way, this whole mechanic that you just spent years in R&D developing, that doesn't work the way you thought it did in your most popular format.
It's just like, that's not a position that we want to be in. That's not a relationship we want to build. And I understand people are like, but the integrity of Commander. I'm like, yes, but we also want Commander to continue to exist. Right? Yeah. Like, and I mean, you gotta make adult political decisions, and sometimes that sucks. But that being said, we were just sitting there going like, okay, well, Lutri obviously can't. This is just, we have to 0-day ban it. And they're like, we don't want to 0-day ban things because if we 0-day ban things, we create this weird expectation. We crack that genie out of the bottle. You know, like you can't put it back in. We don't ever want to, and we're like, look, they created a card that they knew didn't work in our format. They came to us and said, we need you to take this out of the format.
This. Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, well, you know what? The decision's been made, right? Like, Wizards told us to do this. And then what happened? Exactly what I thought would happen. Wizards of the Coast comes out, they announce Lutri, and then Commander Rules Committee bans Lutri. And who gets a hate? The Commander Rules Committee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dog, chill. It's just, this is not our fault. I mean, I can't tell them it's not our fault. Until Wizard of the Coast did later. And like, Gavin 3 weeks later is like, yo, so we wanted this.
Hey, by the way, I know it's been 3 weeks, and the hate has subsided finally, so we can actually say what we planned on saying weeks
and
ago.
I'm like,
oh, it was us. Oh, sorry. All right, bye.
But you know what? The thing is that's fine, because we knew what we signed up for.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we understood what the fiction is, what the whole mechanic of this works, is that I exist so that you can have a safe buffer to do exactly this. And that's fair. Because, the other thing we discussed at that meeting? Flash.
Yeah.
And woo! Flash and whether cEDH is EDH, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to name names or say anything. I'm just saying that there's people who are like, yo, dude, they want to subvert the format and change the way we do things. And I'm like, no, this is not how it is. Because cEDH is EDH. It's just, there will always be a top end, right? There will always be people up there who, no matter even if you said like, okay, all of you people with your cursed totems or whatever, you go off and create your own format. Happy birthday. Like, take your shit and walk away.
Cursed totem EDH.
Dude, seriously, cursed totem is my signpost to know that this is a cEDH deck. Because nobody who plays my kind of EDH has any goddamn idea what that card does. And they're just like, what do you mean
so
it turns
so
off
true.
my fucking Lawn of War Elves? What are you talking about?
It's my favorite card.
It's like, I remember, so at GP Vegas, I think it was, where I got to play cEDH. And somebody gave me a Gitrog deck. And I was like working and I had a help from a cEDH player to be like, yo, okay, let me walk you through this because it's tricky. And I got most of it myself, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to crack this fetch land. And he's like, no, you can't crack the fetch land now. You haven't seen what everybody else is going to do. I'm like, well, I'm just getting a swamp, man. It's the same. It's like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, I very much don't. You're right. But then like somebody played Cursed Totem and I'm like, what the hell is this? What do you mean it can't play activated abilities? Like, who plays this crap? What is going on?
Yeah.
It's so funny that you bring that as the example because it has become such a meme on this podcast about how much I love that stupid card.
It's definitely, it shuts down all my decks.
Yeah.
My Thrasios decks are just kind of like, look at it and get sad.
Cursed Totem is such a frustratingly mean card. And I'm just like, what kind of like soulless asshole is going to run this in a deck? It's like,
hi, sorry.
Yeah, Ian, you better feel bad.
To be fair, I'm with 3 other soulless assholes who signed up for it. So
yeah, and I was like, wow, that's when I realized that y'all are playing a different universe than I am.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Cursed Totem, god damn it! Like, I was like, look, dude, if your deck has a Cursed Totem in it, you're cEDH. That's just my barrier to entry right there.
Yeah.
There we go. I like that. I like that rule
I
of
think
thumb.
that's a good line in the sand.
Yeah, but so that was like basically, I mean, the idea was this, that even if we found a way to split the format, which we would never do, or if, I mean, people have advocated, everybody all the time, both sides, people like, we should form a thing. I'm like, no, right? Like,
it makes sense for the first like minute, and then you think more about it, and you're like,
every time somebody comes
that's
to me,
a
I'm like,
bad
okay,
idea.
A, let me know how you're going to enforce that, and B, let me know when you figure out how. Like, how to split.
Yeah. It's just
what
like
constitutes cEDH?
What part of the philosophy says like the rules committee does not have a enforcement arm. The rules committee has no interest in actually enforcing the rules. It's
so
like,
here's my favorite thing. Like when people ask me things like, "Why won't you make gold bordered cards and proxies legal?" And I'm like, "There's a two-part answer here. A, gold bordered cards are not real cards. They are considered to be just decorative value only, and proxies are illegal. We don't condone of piracy. And B, entirely unrelated." The Commander Rules Committee has no interest in going to your kitchen table and telling you what cards you're going to play.
Exactly.
Like, these two rules are just completely unrelated. I'm just putting them out there and just saying, like, A, this is a Rules Committee's position. B, we're never going to actually do anything about it. Because a rule that is not enforced.
Exactly. If your playgroup is like, oh, yeah, gold border cards are magic cards, they can do that. And then other playgroups can say, like, hey, no, those are decorative pieces. They're not exactly magic cards.
I'm not going to say that I run a gold-bordered Gaia's Cradle in my Hapatra deck, but I totally run a gold-bordered Gaia's Cradle.
I know people who run gold-bordered basics because they think they're like the ultimate bling.
They look awesome.
The Mesa art.
They look awesome. I mean, look, dude, I have a Gaia's Cradle. If you're going to give me shit about it, I'll pull out my Cradle. I just don't want to because it's a $500 card, right?
Yeah.
Real talk,
Like, let's be real, buddy. I'm like, I don't know who you are. You're going to walk away with my Cradle? No.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, and this is one of those things that is real tough for me, is I'm casual, right? I'm like hyper casual. I'm like all about fun time. I'm all about valuing your time as a player. But I also feel that within the confines of our format, everybody should be allowed to play the game they want to play and have as much fun as they possibly can. And my job as a member of the advisory group is to help the rules committee find a way to make sure that everybody who touches an EDH game is playing the best possible game they can play. And that means that when cEDH came around, and in the beginning I was like, look, man, I don't like this. You guys are playing a game that I'm not here for. I don't get it.
Sure.
But I will fight to make sure that the game you want to play, you get to play. And
and I feel very strongly that your view is the correct view. I think there is room for basically any, like, Commander is like a build your own format box almost. Like, within Commander you can have like super casual, super competitive, and everything in between, everything up and above and left to right. Like, there's more than just one axis here. Like, there's like how much you like flavor and how much you like politics, and like they're all different things. And your playgroup can just use Commander as like a toolbox for finding exactly on this like 9-dimensional graph like where you want to find where you guys want to find yourself.
Yeah.
I think that the CAG's overall goal should be to make sure as many people are able to find their position where they're having the most fun, and to make any changes that help the most amount of people have the most amount of fun in the format.
Right.
I think you've done that, which is why so many people in the cEDH community appreciate you, is because we see that directly.
I mean, it's funny because I get a lot of crap from like cEDH folks all the time because I'm people are like, oh, look at that uber casual scrub. And I'm like, yeah, I am, though. That's like Casual Magic is my podcast.
Yes, correct.
That's the point. But also, like, I'm still fighting for you, man.
People like think of cEDH like it's some format where like we're all like, I need my win percentage to be as high as possible playing my fishhole deck. And like, sure, there's people who enjoy the format that way, but most of us are like, yeah, I want to see if I can make this doggo win with commander damage at the highest possible power level.
Yeah, so let me see if I can explain kind of the way I see it here. So one of the things I've noticed is that, like, so there's this pub stomper, right? This ideal of the pub stomper, which is that jerk who comes in with their super powered, blinged out, like, to the nines, maxed out deck that's here to crush people and win. Those guys we conventionally call assholes, and like they're just here to like be jerks. cEDH is not that. cEDH more like, hey, we want to exploit the top end of this format and find the most efficient and interesting ways to just completely obliterate you in a real clean and crisp way. Like when you look at a cEDH deck, it's got like one or two lines of play that like you're all in on this kind of idea that you're trying to go for. If I were to like simplify it further, casual EDH is played on the table, and cEDH is played on the stack.
That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, I think it's very funny because I feel like a lot of cEDH players not just fit the Spike archetype, but the Johnny archetype a
Yes.
lot. Because I noticed
Yes.
in casual, we like, I personally, I would make these f***ing cogs of machines that would just be like, all right, plus A plus B, and then I sack Safi, and this brings back this creature, and people would be like, Ian, kill me. Like, I don't...
It's like, dude,
And I'd
you've
be
had
like,
the win on the
I just want a
table for
combo.
7 turns. I'm like, but it's not my win. I don't have all 12 ornithopters in play. I can't win.
I need to bounce my crater hoof to my hand 8 times exactly so I can one-hit kill you with this Lana War Elves.
Right? Look,
Yeah,
dude, that's every
exactly.
deck I make, okay? I'm not going to lie.
Tamer Sabertooth's a hell of a drug.
So my Brea deck,
Yeah.
for instance, is a hella powerful deck that can win like a million different ways, infinite combos and all things. And I will back into an infinite combo and be like, I won. Damn it. Can we take that back? Like, what do you mean you just won? I'm like, no, but I didn't. I had mechanical thing. I was going to make another come on, let me take it back. It's like,
Yeah.
No.
One thing I used to do is like when I first moved to Massachusetts, I had a hard time like finding a cEDH group, and so I would like play with like people who played high level EDH, and I brewed like a deck that was like slightly weaker than cEDH. And what I do is if I won too early, I'd just be like, all right, guys, I'm just gonna scoop. You guys can play this one out. Like, I don't want to like win on turn 2 when you guys are expecting to win on like turn 6, let's say.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
And that was the thing our play group before I met Ian in Massachusetts that was like fine with. So there's like a lot of
Yeah.
solutions to this like problem, and I think all of them fit within EDH. Like, I
Sure.
think like
Very much agree.
And I was like, look, man, any solution that involves trying to excise cEDH from EDH is not going to do what you want, because A, pup stompers will still exist, and B, there's always going to be a best deck. There's always going to be a best card. There's always going to be a top-end deck that is going to try to stomp the crap out of everybody else. And there's always going to be people who want to play up there. And that's
Yeah.
fine.
And
That's just
it's
magic,
about-
man.
and the banning of Flash isn't to make it so that never happens again. It's to make it so that that game, that like environment where like people are playing the best deck, is fun and not boring.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
The point isn't to balance cEDH. The point is to make cEDH like more fun to play. And Flash was not making cEDH more fun to play. So
that was
in my
my
opinion,
100% argument.
yeah, and in my opinion, it was in alignment with the general philosophy. Like that was the argument I
Yeah.
tried to make to a lot of people. Is like, hey, like when you try to make a balance argument, I think you're just wrong. Like they're not trying to balance EDH, but they're trying to make the EDH more fun. And Flash does not make EDH more fun, so
Agreed.
it doesn't belong.
Like-
That's my opinion.
Here's the thing, right? For me, the argument was always, everybody's like, oh, well, why are you trying to, like one of the complaints I've gotten recently since Flash was banned is very commonly is like, how dare you capitulate to that small fraction of EDH players and try to balance our format? I'm like, no, dog, we're not trying to balance the format. You can't. EDH is broken. We know it's broken. Everybody knows it's
Yeah.
broken. And
Some people like it. Some people avoid it.
yeah, and like,
Yeah.
look, it's good. You can do broken things. I talked to Reed Duke once. Reed Duke, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time. And I was like, have you ever played EDH? And he was like, yeah, me and my brother, we tried to build EDH decks once. And we are, super spikes. So we built mono blue or blue black Una decks or whatever, and just kind of like went and obliterated each other. And I'm like, and they're like, this wasn't very fun, and we're done. I'm like, yeah, it's not fun. You just built vintage decks to try to crush each other and just
Yeah.
had 100 card limits. Like,
Especially in 1v1, like you miss out on so much of the fun parts of the
Oh,
format.
yeah.
I mean, I love playing 1v1 EDH,
Oh,
but also I understand, like, come on, man. The whole point is hanging with your friends. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of the things was, one of my arguments is like, look, Flash is a card that sees 0 to 1%, like 0 to 0.1% play in normal EDH. Like, there's going to be like 2 or 3 people out there who are like, dude, I flash in Solemn Simulacrum, or I've got the weirdo Trixie combo, and I'm like, God bless, man, that's great. But you know what? There's this group of thousands of people over here for whom this card is a red siren of death that is just singing over and over again. And their house is on fire, their country is on fire, their people are dying. Can we just take this one card that will do nothing to us
Yeah.
and improve the vast quality of life of thousands and just take it out of the game?
It might have been.
It was
might have been
yeah, sorry.
your argument, but I was listening to the Command Zone video they did today, and the way they put it, I really liked, which was, if Flash is in 90% of cEDH games, that could be 3% of all Commander games, right? Or 2%
Yeah.
of all Commander games. But if you look at the number of games where Flash is being played fairly, that's like it's not even like a representable number.
No,
Like,
it's not.
And
Yeah.
so this change is only doing really it's the positive move is a significant number, because 2% of EDH is like thousands and thousands of people. because the
Yeah.
format is so huge now.
And that's the thing. It's not even 2%. It's like, look, I've been playing EDH for a decade, and I'll be honest, I play a lot of games of EDH, right? Like, and I've played with people from all over, because strangers always want to play with me, right? I've played dozens and, I mean, let's say thousands of games of EDH. And I've never once seen Flash ever be cast except in the one game of cEDH I sat down to play. And even then, no, they had it in the deck, but I won that deck with the Gitrog Dredge combo. And, like, I got it. I mean, nobody got Flash out because I got counterspelled. But that, like, never happens, and I understand that, and I'm grateful. But, but also, it's just like, look, dude, this card is a problem. This card is bad. I mean, everybody's like, well, why didn't you just reban Protean Hulk? And I'm like, because...
It's a lot of... I feel like there's a lot of obvious reasons for that. Like,
yeah, for one thing, Protean Hulk is 7
Protean Hulk's
mana, and
kinda
it's fun.
Yeah.
I like that card.
Yeah, like,
I think it's a fun card.
And, like, you still have Necromancy, so you can still, like, you know, do your little, like, you know,
there are
shenanigans.
diehard people in our format who love, like, Virals. Like,
Yeah.
but they play it as, like, a bad Protean Hulk Reanimator deck. And it's like, why kill their fun?
Yeah,
You
like,
know what I
dude,
mean? Protean Hulk's a
I
dumb,
put Protean
silly
Hulk
card.
in my Corval deck just because it's fun to go grab Findhorn Elves or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I used to
sure.
have a cEDH deck when, like, Protean Hulk first got unbanned. And the idea was I'd get Body Double, and then I'd get I'd re-sack the Hulk to the Body Doubled Hulk, and then I'd get, like, creatures that blinked my cEDH or blinked, like, my Phyrexian Delvers, and I'd try to get, like, as many ETB triggers for, like, cEDH as possible, like, using a Hulk trigger, and, like, it was not broken.
No, like, it's a super expensive game. It's like a 7 mana casting cost, game-ending card. Fine.
Yeah.
You know what the problem is? When it comes out on turn 2 or turn 1.
Or turn 1.
Yeah, at instant speed.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
Flash would be less broken if it didn't literally give it Flash. Like,
yeah, if it didn't literally trigger
Yeah.
the Leaves the Battlefield trigger immediately.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The
Right?
amount of times I would be like, I would have a win on the board and literally get flashed over. It was like eye twitch. Like, it's terrible.
It's a miserable experience, and I'm like,
I saw someone be like, why can't you just play Savage Summoning instead? And I was like, I don't think you understand. Like,
yeah, like,
we're not
come on.
flashing in our Hulk in response to a board wipe.
No, we're winning.
Yeah.
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 And it's just, that's the thing. I was like, my whole stance is Magic is fun. EDH is fun. And if you're not having fun, I need to fix that. And Flash meant that the people who want to play at this level of EDH that I don't understand, the people who are playing at this level of Magic that is just so complex and beyond me. I mean, and like, there's obviously the haters who are like, you incompetent dipshit, what do you know about Magic? And then there's the people like, look, man, I just want to play this cool, super powerful deck. But every time I do, somebody's playing Thassa's Oracle, Flash, Labman, whatever. And I'm like, that sucks. I don't want that. And like, then there's the argument that I couldn't get behind, and I still don't stand behind, is when people are like, yo, dude, I'm playing the best deck in the format. You got to make it stop. And I'm like, you could also just not play Flash. It's EDH, there's no tournament here. And they're like, no, you don't understand. I'm playing the best deck. This is the best deck, and you need to make it not the best deck. And I'm like, I am not sympathetic to that argument because I'm not going to force everybody to play their game.
My local play group is a cEDH play group. We technically play for money. Like, we play for store credit, and it's like not a very competitive atmosphere when we do it. And we all came in one day, the day that Thassa's Oracle was legal in Commander, and 13 out of 16 people brought Fish Hulk. That night, we were all sitting down after our games, like chatting, which we always do. And I asked, like, what if we just didn't bring Fish Hulk next week? And everyone's like, I'd only do that if everyone else didn't do it. And I was like, yeah, what if we just all didn't bring in Fish Hulk next week? And then we all looked at each other like, oh yeah, this is Commander. We can just do that. And that's what we did. But we started to realize, like, oh, if people come in to play who aren't part of our regular play group, and like they'll bring the deck, and like we can't be like, hey, I know you spent thousands of dollars on this deck, and like we advertise ourselves as like a cEDH group. Like, it was just hard. It was difficult, and it was a temporary solution to a problem that had already been going on for a very long time. And we were gonna have to, like, my friend Jacob and I talked the day that Flash got banned, and we were like, wow, like, we're really happy this happened, because we were getting to a point where we were gonna have to like start allowing it again, because it was just causing problems with like the store itself. Like, the store would be like, we didn't say it was banned, but they're like, you can't say the card is not legal. Like,
you can't soft ban this card.
Yeah, because like you want people to feel comfortable to bring whatever they want to play.
And that's one of the that's one of the things. People are like, I can police my deck, but I can't police their deck. And I'm like, well, you guys can all as a format decide that you don't want to do this. And they're like, no, but you don't get it. We have to play the best deck. I'm like, that's not an argument that's going to fly. Cause
I don't agree with that argument.
Because the rules committee is going to be like, yeah, well, that's a choice you've made. Thanks.
Yeah. And it also became hard because people were like, what if I want to play Flash Rector? And I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. That's not Flash Hulk. I don't care. And then other people would be like, well, if he gets to play Flash Rector, like, I get to play Flash, whatever. And then it just became hard to... And once you get to 16 people, it's hard to, like, have everyone agree.
Yeah, forget 16. What about 16,000?
Yeah, exactly.
Or 60,000 or whatever it is, right? And
or like a GP, right? Like, oh, I want to go sign up for like I want to sign up for a cEDH pod.
Dude, let me tell you right now. Yeah, and so that was one of the big stopping blocks. If I'm being totally honest, is like the rules committee type of thing is like, hey, look, dude, these people are coming to us and saying, yo, we need you to ban Flash so that our meta can be more like fair and not everybody's bringing that. I'm like, A, we don't ever want the word meta to apply to Commander. B, we don't want to balance the format for tournament play so that people aren't bringing the deck that's going to win the prize. We don't want prizes. We don't want tournaments. We don't want... the whole phrasing of competitive EDH is just doing you such a disservice.
I agree. And so I remember I talked to one of the original mods for the competitive EDH Reddit, and my understanding is that like people were getting bullied out of the EDH Reddit for like playing spiky decks. And they needed somewhere to go. And so one of the mods was like, all right, I'll just make a quick Discord, our competitive EDH. And that was that. And then like years later, they were like, oh, wow, that was not a good name.
No, you guys should have called it something like optimized EDH, top end EDH.
Yeah, I agree.
Spike.
Yeah.
But competitive
But it's wild to me, in just even, Shivam, like I totally get your point about what tournament EDH is, but it's just by the nature of it being EDH, right? Like, I've played like high level modern tournaments. I played high level standard, blah 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 blah. Any of that stuff, right? Like I have friends who like exclusively play those formats, and they just treat the game differently. Yeah. And I've definitely met people who fit the sort of stereotypical cEDH player view. They're people who probably at some point did pub stomp, right? Like I've met people like that. But a lot of us, I'm using us, obviously, and we're using a lot of terms like us, we, they, lightly here, just because it's hard. It's hard.
As a human is that I generalize the fuck out of things.
So do I.
It happens.
I am so
a lot of people do.
But even then, like, I one of my closest friends, like, we're, like, addicted to cEDH now because we've gotten it and we have a lot of trouble, like, just playing casual again just because that's the way it is. And we were having fun playing our very powerful decks, right? But we still sit at the table and we literally have the nickname of the goblins because the whole time we're sitting there like back and forth just giggling like schoolgirls, and it's it's so different because we'll still do that at a tournament. Like
the thing that swayed me was that I am a softie for people having a good time, and Flash and Flash Hulk and then Thassa and then all this stuff. I'm like, guys, this is just it's making a segment of our people mad and unhappy. And I don't like that because when any one of us is unhappy, I'm unhappy. And I can't represent it. And like, I realize that this is not my demographic, but they are because they're EDH players. They're my people. Mm-hmm. And if I have it in my ability to make you make a decision that will give these people better quality of life, and I'm not doing it, I have failed as a member of the Commander Advisory Group. What the hell am I doing here? Like,
I appreciate you're so passionate about that because like,
same.
I worry about you because of that. Like, sometimes I see you on Twitter after a rough day, and I'm like, I just kind of want to reach out to Shivam and say, I hope he's okay, but I don't want it to just, like, I don't want to drown him.
I have a lot of love for the cEDH community. I mean, I will never play a game with you. I mean, I will totally play an EDH game. I'll sit down. I mean, I don't mean I'm not going to play a casual game with you. It's just I don't understand cEDH enough to be able to do it because I have a hard time. Like, when I play EDH, I play my turn, y'all do your thing, and I can kind of phase out of the game for a minute and just wait for it to come back.
Sure.
cEDH, I have to pay attention at all points of time. And I was like, whoa.
I love EDH
too much.
I love cEDH for the exact same reason that you don't like it. Because, like, I have a really hard time focusing on things. But for cEDH, like, for some reason, like, this is the thing I can focus on. This thing, like, I'll put my phone down and not look at my phone for 2 hours, which is, like, the only time in my life I get to do that. I guess when I'm recording a podcast too, that
like
but like cEDH I can hyper focus, and that's like so satisfying. But I understand like for some people like you can't do that. Like Sheldon Menery did the little write up he did about his game, and he was like, oh, like I wish there was more time for us to like just chat. And I was like, yeah, I kind of get that complaint. That like makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, like look, I mean that's because we're approaching the game differently, right? And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fine. And like once I wrapped my head around like, oh, these people are taking the same pool of cards I am, looking at it differently, and have a different goal in mind. And once I understood that, it clicked. And I was like, you know what? I get it, and I support you, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that you guys get a fair shot from a group of people that is not predisposed to giving you a fair shot.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, and it's not that like...
both.
Yeah, and it's not that the rules committee doesn't like cEDH, it's just that they didn't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I think you could tell like the moment that the CAG existed to now, like people who traditionally have been harder to get in contact with, like I've been able to get in contact with, like the general messaging has been like more
open.
Yeah, well, I just want to mean like there's articles from Sheldon from like 2 years ago where it's like you really didn't need to word it this way, like
Sheldon.
I don't know if you.
I love Sheldon. Like, Sheldon is one of the great, and he's like if there's ever a Hall of Fame for people in Magic who like have done impactful things, Sheldon Menery should be in like the first class type of thing. You know, like he brought us the greatest format in the greatest game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Sheldon is ex-military. Sheldon is a very much a like straightforward, straight thinking, blunt as hell type of guy, and he's just gonna put it out there. And I'm like, dog, you need to soften this a lot.
Put a little sugar on it.
And he's like, but I'm just being honest. And I'm like, yeah, but you're also punching him in the stomach a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's not just him either. Because like I remember I read the Flash ban and I was like, oh, this is great. And then I went on like on Twitter or something, and like someone's like, I really didn't like the wording on that. And I was like, all right, bud. Like this is like years of like discussions and conversations and debate and this is like the outcome we like all wanted. And the first reaction you have is, I'm not sure the wording was exactly how I would have liked it. Like.
I'm like, dude,
that drove me fucking wild. I was like, celebrate this.
I was just like, please, just take the win. Please, take the win and walk.
Exactly.
Oh, Shivam, when the one guy commented on your Twitter thing about now it's time to talk about console, and you posted the Timberlake gif of just like the eyes widening, I was like, please shut up. Please.
Oh my God.
This man has done so much for us. Leave him alone.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there, I'm like, dude, do you have any idea how much political capital I have burnt out trying to get this to you? Because Sheldon and them, they might listen to this, and I want them to know, A, I am definitely hyperbolizing a lot of this. B, like, this is not exactly how it goes, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm misrepresenting how the
your
CAG
words
and
aren't
the Rules
theirs.
Committee acts and thinks. This is all my perception, right? Like, this is all exactly how I see things. But
of course,
like we've been having CAG meetings since December of 2018, January 2019. We've started, and since that first meeting, I have gone to hell and back to try to ban Flash, to try to throw you a bone from day one, and from day
it is
one,
known.
I've had to. I mean, it feels like trying to dig a canyon with a spoon. Right, like,
and you know what? It must have really made him do a double take too, because like, all right, we got the casual guy, we got the spike, and then the first thing out of the casual player's mouth is, all right, guys, cEDH really needs a ban here.
Well, no, my first words were like ban Iona, and then ban Flash.
In the beginning, did they like know about that? Like, were they already aware that people were asking for the Flash ban? Like, because like I don't know how well we pierced through. Like, because there were a lot of people asking for it.
Like, I basically at first I was like, okay, hey guys, the CAG is here. Please tell me your concerns, right? And then a bunch of cEDH players were like, yo, could you do something about this card Flash? And I looked into it and I was like, oh, this is a bad idea. And the first response was like, they didn't understand what cEDH was except as pub stumpers, which 99% of us thought, and 80% of us still think. Let's be real, right? Because branding.
Regretfully,
because of branding. But the thing was is that like the rules committee was definitely like, no, we're not gonna make ban decisions based on tournament level players of one fraction of a percentage of the player base of Commander. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is not. They're not tournament players. It's like, yeah, but they have a meta. And I was like, oh, that's a hard one to get around because you've got a meta. And like there were
except the meta's made up. It's like any time. It's all BS in politics.
Yeah, but remember, these 4 people are like literally tournament runners, right? Like Scott
Yeah.
Larrabee
Yeah.
runs organized play, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. These guys are people who come from a place where you can sit there and say, yeah, I got Jeskai Fires versus, Embercleave.
Rakdos
And like
Layer Sacrifice,
you can
yeah.
just sit
Where,
there
like-
and say like, oh, I name a card and that represents a deck archetype. And in cEDH, I could sit there and say, well, I was at a table with Gitrog and with Flash Hulk and with whatever, and those represent decks, right? Like I can't sit
Yeah.
there at an EDH table and say like, okay, well I was there with Sidisi and with like Jedit Ojana.
Although you
and,
can't say like I was there with Narset, and everyone would immediately know,
and they'd
like,
be like, I hope you killed him first. But
yeah,
but like I mean, we have archetypes in EDH and stuff, but we don't have as fixed an idea of.
Yeah.
If I say I'm playing like Thrasios and Timna, you know what my deck is.
yeah. And some of it's made up. Like I have a deck that I call Medium Green, which is like a joke, almost a joke name. And now like people know what Medium Green is, but like it started out as just a guy playing a deck with a funny name, and like someone played it on playing with
Yeah,
power.
but I mean, there's also like a famous deck in normal Magic called Tricks, right? Named after the cereal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come on. I
You're
mean,
right.
The point is that it was a year and change of me sitting there, and like me and Rachel and others on the CAG trying desperately to get like the rules committee to understand like, no, this is a legitimately bad experience for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Please
Can I ask
help.
some questions about that process?
Within reason, yeah.
Was it like
Sure.
was it like so like did it start out with you and then like maybe like the next meeting it was Rachel, then the next meeting it might have been like someone
No,
else, or was
so-
it generally like
So kind
all
of
in
what
one
it is
swing?
early on, like it's changed now, but in the beginning it was kind of like, okay, if you guys have cards you want to discuss that should be banned, put them on this list. And like let's talk about cards that like we had things like the Praetors. Not all of them, but
Yeah.
like Vorin Klex and
Foreign Clacks.
like some of them that are just like utterly like super garbo cards, right? Like just cards that are miserable
Sure.
to play against Shieldred, Vorin Klex, that sort of thing.
Elish Norn?
Uh
Except
yeah.
Elish Norn's a white card, so probably
Yeah,
not.
look, you know what I learned is that's a legitimate reasoning for keeping busted cards in the set. It's like, look,
Yeah.
dude, yeah, that card is broken in half, but it's also white or red, and you know what?
Yeah.
Throw them.
Although
a
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many Dockside Extortionist level cards they can print before red's just like the best color. in
Dockside
Magic.
Extortionist, I think, is changing that math a lot because that
Yeah.
card is
I love it.
broken as hell.
It's
Oh,
absurd. Like,
But no, so we had a whole list of cards that we were like, and there were cards that I wanted to ban, like Expropriate and whatever that stupid blue one is. Flash was like a slow burn because every time we would have a meeting, I'd be like, hey guys, cEDH is a thing, and they would really like us to ban this. And they're like, we don't cater to tournament players or, that type of, we don't want to do that. And
that
slowly
hurts me
and
just to
steadily,
hear.
look, you
I
guys
get
can
it.
see how much.
I get it. It just hurts.
No,
it hurts
yeah.
me because like
Yeah.
it just shows that like we're not doing like we as a community are not doing a good enough job to accurately represent like what our goals are and like why we're playing.
I mean, it's
Commander.
getting better.
It is,
I would say, but yeah.
and I think the Flashman's proof of that.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't take so long, and I wish we'd done a better job. I wish the name was different.
Yeah.
Well, people didn't understand what you were, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, now it's a
I
lot
agree.
better.
I agree.
And so one of the big problems was exactly that. It's like it took so much work on my part, on the part of other people, to like Charlotte helped a lot, and like just to sit and. I mean, I did a lot of work in the public eye, especially to be able to try to bring out the fact
Yeah.
that look, I'm a casual, but I want these people to have fun too.
And that's, I mean, like one of the reasons we like, I know Braden and I have a shared Twitter for our thing, and we usually follow like mostly cEDH people or like Wizards itself. But you were one of the first people we followed because you
I
were always
love your Twitter.
yeah, you were a very vocal advocate for just making people happy, and that was all we wanted, right? We've been very vocal about creating a positive play
Like,
space for people.
I don't care what
yeah.
Magic you're playing. I just want you to sit there and be able to have the most fun you could possibly have. And if there's one card that is stopping everybody from having a good time, get that the hell out of my format. Like
Yeah, I
I don't like.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to all the people who love playing Flash Hulk, but nobody loved playing Flash Hulk.
Yeah, no one can complain against. No one can complain against like Iona and be like, nobody plays Iona, and then be like, but yeah, everyone plays Flash. Like,
Yeah.
any person who makes that argument like needs to really reevaluate like how they
Right.
like how many people actually play cEDH. It's like
yeah.
That's the thing. It's like people just don't understand how many people play Magic and how many people play Commander and who is being affected by this. And like, I'll be honest, cEDH is a very small slice, but it's still a slice. It's still a piece of EDH.
It's a growing slice too. Like
it is because you guys have presence, right? Like you guys have presence. You have.
We've learned how to talk.
Like you guys have a community that's centralized in lobbies and has a thing, and like you give people a kind of a framework within to play EDH, and that's fair and fine. I get that, and I want to help make sure that works. And
it's appreciated.
But it's just like it was so difficult, and even down to the ban. Like when it came down to it, it was not a unanimous. It was even last meeting, there was a whole lot of every time we've had these meetings and talked about this. Like in Theros meeting, the Theros meeting was super contentious because we're like, guys, Thassa's Oracle's coming out. We need to ban Flash. And we didn't. And like I was like, I came out and I was like, I tried for you guys. I desperately tried. And then like a week later, the numbers start coming in and people are like, yep, it's just Fish Hulk all day, all night. It's sushi all day. Everybody's playing foot. And I was just like, look at what we did. We had it in our power to not let this happen. Look at what we did. Yeah. And they're like, we'll see.
I understand wanting to be conservative.
No, but they're the most conservative, lowercase c conservative. And that served them right. Like that has that has helped EDH become the format it is. Like I respect that. But there's a point where you got to look and see like, look, dude, the house is on fire. How long are you going to wait?
Whoever came up with that, whoever came up with the house is on fire.
Yeah, Sheldon.
That's such a good.
It's like we'll talk about what it is later. Put the house first, like, and I'm like, look, man, we finally, and they came into like it was something around the lines of like, okay, so what if we just said, okay, cEDH, you guys are on your own. We'll help you make a committee and things, but we're not going to handle you. And I was like, I quit. I'm not doing that. I did not spend a year building bridges with this community, becoming friends with these people, fighting for them, working my ass off to try to get you to realize and respect that this is a thing, just for you to shunt them and send them into the sun. I'm like, that's not what we're here for. Yeah. And even this last meeting, Josh Lee Kwai, who is like the most anti-ban person on the planet, said like, yo, you know what? We should get rid of Flash. It does nothing for us. None of us play it, but it will help this group of people. And it's just miserable. They're all playing it. It's wrong. If it's an auto play, then it's an auto ban.
I wish, Shivam, I really do wish you could have been in some of the cEDH discords the other night, because it was like we as a community realized we were having a kid. Like, everyone was like, "It happened," and then half the people were like, "You're full of shit." No, it didn't.
The commander website wasn't loading, and people were just like spamming the refresh button. Yeah, like I don't believe.
Dude, I was like, okay, so here's the thing, right? So we knew Lutri was banned. We made that decision. It was a lot of pulling teeth. I was on the favor of banning Companion entirely, and the other people were like, no, we gotta get rid of this only. And I was like, after all the other Companions came out, you look at them and you're like, okay, if you're playing a full Commander deck with just 2 CMC or less cards, God bless you, you can have that Companion. Right?
Yeah,
like,
Jane Gotha is actually like pretty good, but at the same time it has the 5 color.
Right. Or the Simic one, which is just like, oh look, it's Simic. Okay. Well, Simic is strong, and use that never. But
or the blue-white one doesn't even work in Commander.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, hey, look, by the rules, you can't play this period. But exactly. I will say this, that's stupid. Every time somebody comes to me and says, like, yo, dude, unban Primetime, I'm like, what? So that poor, like, weak green can get another card back? Gosh. Green is having so much trouble ramping. Let's give them back Sylvan Primordial and Primetime. No, stop talking. Like, our goal with the ban list is specifically, if a card is ubiquitous, it needs to go. If a card is making it unfun for, like, you know, casual players or not casual as low power players, but just like if it is anti the philosophy idea of Commander as a fun way to hang out, it should go. Like doing things like destroying your lands is not what we want, right? Like, and I realize that you guys at cEDH Land are like letter of the law people and not like spirit of the law people. So like saying things like you shouldn't play Armageddon really doesn't mean a lot, but you shouldn't because we want people to have a fun. We want you to be able to play your game.
We don't want to. We're not going to play Armageddon against people who don't want to also play Armageddon.
But that's the thing.
That's like
that's
the
why
spirit
it's not
of the format. Also, like
that's why it's not bad because I'm like, look, there are people who want to play stacks and Armageddons and things like that. I'm like, all right, man, go with your eyes open, rule zero to talk to each other.
One of the best parts of the Flash ban is that like people get to play Rule of Law now, and that stops a lot of the Storm stuff, and it also makes like stacks better, and like people are excited about that. Like people are like, oh, I get to finally play in stacks.
Okay,
like,
so like I was saying, so we didn't know the Flash was getting banned though. We knew that Lutri was getting banned, and then they were like,
Right.
we're going to take what you said under consideration, and we'll decide before 420 for the ban. And so like last week on like Thursday or something. 418, 49, like not 418, maybe like 417 or something, 416. They're like, oh, by the way, we're banning Flash. Prepare.
drop the bomb.
Yeah.
They were like, prepare yourself. And I was like, oh. And then you guys asked me if I would be on your show, and I was like, can we do it on Monday after?
Yeah.
You're gonna really want this
Yeah.
because it's gonna be really hard to have this talk before. And I was like,
and you were like, just wait for it.
this is what I was trying to say an hour and 30 minutes ago was, so we banned Lutri, and I'm getting lit up by people who are like, so you'll ban this stupid cat, but you won't ban Flash? Look at you assholes in the rules committee that don't know anything. And I'm like, homie, give me 2 weeks. Just give me 2 weeks, and you'll see.
To be fair, we had the RCs back like blatantly on our podcast. We were like, no, this is 100% correct for Lutri, but also like, just give him 2 weeks.
But then
The
like,
problem is like people don't go online to be like thank you. They usually go online because they're like,
They're
I
mad.
need them to hear that I'm having this problem, and so like you
Yeah.
hear from like usually the people who aren't happy. I hope that this time it was different. Like I tried
Oh
to
my
go
God,
online and say
dude.
thank you.
so 9 p.m. Sunday PST comes around, and it's like the link goes live, and I'm just like the whole time I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna hate me next week, and everybody's like, they're banning Soul Ring, aren't they? Or doubling season is gonna be, or something. They were like, oh, they're gonna change the rules on it's something. I'm like, yeah, maybe, and then stuff Flash is banned.
Phone explodes. Twitter just
Yeah.
nonstop notifications.
It's like you could see how long it took
Oh
somebody
my
to
God.
roll down through the story, and then it was
Yeah.
just like New Year's Eve fireworks up in. It was just
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
we did a live stream, and it was like at like 1 a.m. and our time, and like people were like, "I don't believe it."
oh no, there was like
Yeah.
people were crying and dancing and singing. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
literal. Like I think part of it is also just quarantine has given everybody such pent up
Yeah.
like emotional
Yeah.
stress that having this like thing that you got like 2 days before. I was like, or not even 2 days, like yesterday, the day before the ban list, I was like, all right, man, shoot your shot. Tell me what you think the rules committee is going to do. And everybody's like, well, I'll tell you what they're going to do, and I'll tell you what they should do. And I was like, they're not going to ban Flash. That's what they're going to do because they're assholes who hate us and blah, blah. I'm like, okay. All right. I'm a note this.
You
and I'll
shot
get
your
back
shot.
to
You
you in 6 hours.
missed. Good luck next week.
Dude, I gotta say we were there, but we were more just like, yeah, no, we get it. It's not happening. It's fine. Whatever.
I think there's a 20% chance it'll get banned.
You did.
I was like, I think it's a 20% chance, and I still feel like I was right. I feel like there was a 20. I feel like it was
It
pretty
was
close.
maybe a 25%. There's 4 people on the rules committee.
Yeah.
But it was
fair,
also just
fair.
like, I was like, even the most like die-hard believer isn't going to believe that this happened. Because
Yeah.
I was just like,
Oh
we
my
finally
God,
got
Shivam,
him.
yeah.
Like, let me tell you, man.
I was crunching the numbers, and I was like, I think we got Toby. I think we got Sheldon. I was like, I don't know about the other two though. It's like,
I still
don't
don't
know.
think we got the other two, frankly. But I'll be honest, because here's the thing: we don't see their votes. The CAG does not know how anybody votes.
yeah,
Right.
And it's rude to ask, and
Yeah.
so we don't because it's not my business, right?
Yep.
All I care about is that I was able to bring to the community a thing that they
Yeah.
had been desperately asking me for, and I swear to God, you have no idea how just relieved.
that's been pretty satisfying.
Oh my God, it was
Yeah.
like, okay, I was just like, Sheldon's like, okay, now be nice, like when the announcement goes up, don't be like, yo, I told them, and I'm like, I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
be civilized. I'm gonna be like, hey man, we banned Flash. Mic drop, walk away.
Like, did you go home to like
I
your
did it.
wife and son and be like, I did a good thing today. I did a good thing.
Did it, man? I brought you a flashbang. Enjoy my cEDH brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
I have free gift format.
Oh man.
Ugh.
It was getting to the point where like I know people who are some of like the format's most brilliant deck builders who like love doing that, and I've had them like come up to me and be like, nihilistically before the ban, we're like, there's just no point because it's not as good. Like it's like I can break it as much as I want, but it's not going to be better than Flash. And then just all of them have been like, so we posted 13 decks today, and this is what it's going to look like in the new meta. Like,
oh my god, dude! Every goddamn content creator, every cEDH person I follow was just like,
it was Christmas
instantaneously, just like an explosion.
It was funny because some people were like, I watched some content creators, and they were like, I don't really get why this is a big deal, but Twitter's blowing up right now.
Everyone's like, what the hell just happened at midnight? Like, wow, something big must have... Okay, first off, a whole bunch of casual people were like, wait, does that mean I can't use Vidalcan Ori anymore? And I'm like, no.
Oh my god. I lost my mind. I was like, you could tell how like small our community is when people are like, wait a minute, so like an entire mechanic?
Oh my god, dude. When I asked, like, yo...
I thought you were going to ban Companion, not Flash.
Yeah, that's exactly it. 3 months ago during Theros, I was like, yo, should we ban Flash or not? And they're like, but my whole deck would go away. I'm like, what the hell do you mean your whole deck would go away? All of my cards are instants or Flash. But I'm like, oh, no.
No.
What the hell is Flash? Why would you play this card? It doesn't do anything. I'm like,
oh, it does.
Oh,
it does. Like,
a friend.
You're right. It doesn't do anything. It does one thing, and it's fucking miserable.
It does one thing, and it does one thing very, very well.
Oh, it's so
I'm
funny.
making this episode hell for myself because I censor every time I swear, but I'm so passionate about
Dude,
this.
you know what, man? Like, all I gotta say is that cEDH is EDH, right? EDH players all deserve to have the funnest possible environment that we can provide them, the funnest possible experience we can provide them. Balancing the format is a miserable and failure-prone situation. And if we have the chance to take away one card that will just give such joy to so many people, can kill it. Just kill it. Just kill it with fire and you're done.
Yeah.
Your open-mindedness just to our community. I know there's been a lot of people who've like over the past couple days have been like tweeting at you and stuff, but like genuinely from like two people who like really are passionate about this format and have a lot of fun, like thank you. Like
I know Shaper Savant is a big fan. We talked to him. He'd be like, bless.
My favorite was from the cEDH Reddit, which was like, Shivam Bhatt of the CAG in particular is aggressive, flippant, and expresses poorly thought out views on Twitter frequently. And I'm like, I'm fighting for you too, dude. The thing that makes me laugh is when people are like, how could WotC print this card? And then the same breath be like, WotC should control Commander. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right? I think that I literally saw that today. Literally today I saw that. I was like, do you know how this works?
Like you've read every card in Ikoria and C20, right? And you want them to say yes or no?
How many sets do we need to have in a row of like broken mess?
Yeah.
Before we.
No, it's fine. Let's let the Oko guys take care of it.
Oh my gosh.
I'll get right on it, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, it's just like, look, man, I just want you to have fun. But here's the thing. And here's the thing that's very, very important that I get out, that I tell you guys. And that is, this really was a skin of your teeth, like burnt out all my bridges and all my political power to convince these people to work for this, because I was able to make the case that this is a special case. This is a case where one card has dominated so much, like Tolarian Academy levels of controlling, like it's Aetherworks Marvel type of thing, right? Like this is the deck.
Sure.
And you guys, and like a lot of the cEDH, like people like Shaper, people like Siggy, and the Spike Leader and stuff, we have a Discord with them. They go back and forth with Sheldon a lot, and we talk a lot. And they made very eloquent cases. Like, I don't want to pretend like I was the one only catalyst here. There was a whole lot of people from cEDH community who were incredibly erudite and incredibly well-spoken, who made phenomenal cases for why, like Cobblepot. Cobblepot is absolutely one of the most brilliant people I've met in cEDH. He sit there and wrote this incredible just essay and statistical analysis explaining why this needs to go. And he was proven right when it didn't. And the thing is that the way we were able to make this work is by saying, look, we're not balancing the format. We're making it so that they have a format. Because with Flash legal, there is no cEDH. cEDH was like losing people by the ton. Content creators were just stopping. People were quitting Magic because they're like, look, there's no point.
People were thinking about leaving.
Yeah.
Like, people were like, why am I spending time on this thing that clearly isn't respected by the people who are supposed to be in charge of it?
And I was just like, look, man, you don't have to like it, but they exist. And they're us. They are in our community. And they're obviously being pained by this card that does nothing. And they're like, yeah, but what if they come to us with constant, like, it's funny when that guy came in my Twitter with consultation, because the argument that was in the meeting was like, okay, well, what happens when they come back to us with Consult or with Oracle or with, any of these other weirdo Superstone cards?
I talked about that with Toby like in February, and I was like, how many cards like Flash exist? How often does like a card like Flash get printed?
Exactly.
It has the same number of points as Black Lotus and Canlander. Think about that. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, like that was another of the things. Like, look, dude, like every other format understands this.
Yeah,
we should too. And they're like, but it's not affecting casual tables. I'm like, well, eventually it will.
How long can you have the best thing exist before it starts to trickle down?
And I was like, we don't need this. They don't need this. And I need to make this really clear is that, like, if cEDH people start coming to us with, like, Flash is gone, but now we need you to handle this other thing, then I'm just going to tell you flat out that even I won't be able to help you there.
I'm, like, terrified of that. Like, there are people in the community who are like, all right, but they really should have hit Thassa's Oracle, too. And I'm like, it's infuriating because, like, it doesn't make political sense. It also doesn't make, like, philosophical sense. Like,
yeah, because they are not at all interested in shaping your format.
And we don't want that. I think a lot of us don't want that. There's a minority who want that sort of sculpted format, but this was the extreme of extreme.
It has to still be EDH or it's not cEDH.
Right. Yeah, and it was just like, look, man, this card is so dominant and so absurd. If we take it out, you guys have room at the top to breathe and decks that can do things, and that's fine.
Yeah. And our success is the success of the format because it gives an opportunity for more people who typically wouldn't be EDH players. It gives them room to play and grow and maybe create content or consume content, which is good for Commander as a whole.
And I've played casual Commander for 6 years before I played competitive, right? So there's a point of them being together. It was just another way to express what I like playing.
Yeah, I remember like you were like, "Oh, Fibblethip's sick. Like, what kind of Fibblethip deck can I make?" And I was like, "Let me show you a card." So
you were like, "Have you heard of Proto?"
Yeah. So
it's just like, look, man, that's the thing. It's like I just don't want you, the community. If you want to survive, then we need to work together and we need to like understand each other. More. And we can't do that if cEDH is like Josh said in his video was like, look, man, if we ban Flash and you guys have your open field again and you can build your meta and do your thing and have your decks, great, we're done. We're good here, right? But if you come back and you're like, okay, now we need you to ban X, Y, and Z, then we're going to be like, oh, well, so your format can't survive without us sculpting it.
Yeah.
How many times is your neighbor's house burnt down before you start to wonder if they have a meth lab?
Like, before you like move out of the neighborhood, right? Like,
yeah. I don't know. Like, I just thought of it when Josh Lee Kwai said that. That was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like,
you couldn't think about like, maybe they just have a gas leak. You went straight to meth lab.
I've got, some of us don't live in the best areas, Shivam. Yeah, it's so cool too because as all these changes are happening, like the content creators who I consider like the top tier kind of creators, like the Command Zone, are making content that just even like mentions competitive EDH, which is like good for us. Like,
I think it's nice that, and I think you coming on is really helping this too, Shivam. It's just that this notion that these pub stompers who kind of like ruined the image of our variant of a subsection of a format, right?
It's like,
but our variant,
it's a mess.
yeah. That image was so tainted. I mean, and I've been pub stomped. It sucks. It sucks so bad. I never want that. But when I get to play a Fierce Guardianship on my opponent's Force of Will that they've cast a Pact of Negation over and it's all triggering our Mystic Remora, like, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I want to sit down against 3 people who are there to play at a competitive level, and we all know that, and we all have our own version of the Rule Zero conversation. That's what cEDH is, I think. It's just an abbreviation of a Rule Zero conversation.
I largely agree.
Yeah,
I think it's also frustrating for us as content creators because, Braden and I care a lot about cEDH, and the fact that there are people out there who are like just not taking this real acknowledgement and gift from the rules committee, because this is the first time we've ever been acknowledged as a real entity and as a real subsection of the Commander
at least
format.
in the rules.
And
JLK in the meeting brought up a thing that I think he said in his video too, which was like, look, man, and because like there was one of the arguments like, why should we cater to these people? And they're like, look, if we talk about the last 100 bans that have been done for EDH players, not one of them is catered to cEDH. They can have one, right?
And that's
Flash was
And
so
Flash
much.
was
It was the fucking worst.
Uniform, 100% unanimous. Everybody wanted it gone, like for a year.
I mean, longer, but Fastest Oracle just kicked it the hell up.
I just want people to have fun, and Flash is not fun.
Me too.
I agree.
Flash sucks. Like bottom line.
It did.
We also get to see so much like more creativity from people. Like today, I played against a fully optimized rune list, which is
That's old.
this person has worked on it for years and they've like brought it onto the database. And like if you had told someone that was a quote competitive list like a year ago, they would have been like, yeah, okay. But now that like Flash is gone, there's just all this creative open space where like people can bring those things that they're passionate about.
There's like room for decks that don't have to interact on turn one. Which sounds absurd, but like
You gotta play, like my game doesn't start till turn 7, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
It's crazy.
Sorry, we're speaking a whole new language at you.
Turn one, I haven't even looked at my hand yet. Turn 1, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I don't even know who the other players at the table are at turn 1.
It's more of that cursed totem talk, Shim. Just ignore
it. What is this turn 1, man? Like, God, dude, my games of EDH are the polar opposite of yours. But
I'm sure we're both having fun.
We're all having fun, and that's all that matters.
I really hope people listen to this, and like I think there's like this misconception that like cEDH players are just like more enfranchised players, and I think I had that view for a long time, but it's not true because like for example, like when the Flash ban was announced, there were people on the competitive EDH Facebook page, which I also moderate, and they're like, well, why Flash and not Hulk? And it's like, well, if you've talked about this ban with like basically anyone, like the answer is like that's a pretty simple answer to like explain, especially if you're playing against Flash Hulk all the time. Right? But like those people, maybe they're playing cEDH once a week or once a month, or they're just not active online, so they don't like see these discussions. Or there's people who don't know what the RC and CAG is, which is why like we mentioned like what it is, because there are people who even though they play cEDH, like they're just not as enfranchised, even though this is just how they choose to play their
That's
casual
one of the
format.
things I learned is like most of the people in the world who play EDH like regularly have no idea who we are. They don't know cards are banned until somebody tells them the card is banned. And that was kind of why we like Lutri needs to go first, just because we don't want people accidentally buying this card and just getting wrecked. But Flash was definitely targeted an enfranchised player in an enfranchised format, and people are pissed about that because they're like, you're ruining the philosophy of EDH by targeting this competitor. I'm like, no, dude. What we're doing is we're helping a segment of EDH play the best, most fun games that they can. Because I value your time too.
Which aligns with the philosophy document. The philosophy document doesn't say like Commander is for people who aren't enfranchised.
No. And it's like, that's such horse anyways, because like think about it. Commander players have more bling per capita than any other Magic player there is. We all carry goddamn like quivers and have 48
staring over at my cEDH deck right now, kind of guilty.
Well, look, dude, here's what I'm telling you, right? Like a Magic player carries a deck around. An EDH player carries a table with them. They're like, oh, what? You didn't bring your deck here? Let me give you 3 others, and we can just get them for... Hey, you didn't have an EDH deck? Come on, sit down. I'll teach you how to play. We'll do it right now. Oh, what? You don't have a table? Hang on. Let me pull the folding table out of my backpack.
I used to carry a full pod of cEDH decks with me everywhere, so that like, no matter where I was...
Oh, yeah. Last year when I was only playing casual... No, when I was playing both formats, I had 1 cEDH deck and 30 casual decks. So, like, yeah, I got you.
Right? Like, come on. Let's be real for a second. They're like, oh, what decks do you bring? All of them? Oh, really? Yeah, see that drag bag I've got behind me? Yeah. 48 EDH decks. What do you want?
Oh, man, that bag was so heavy, Shivam. I feel like you know.
You get it.
I love it when you see people with, like, the Lowe's boxes that are, like, for tools, and you're like... That man, that's a professional right there.
Oh yeah, dude. Like,
that's what a professional EDH player looks
out.
like.
Yeah.
When you just like still slam it down in front, and you're like, click, click. Smoke comes out, the lights come out, and, like, and I frankly, I want to get a cEDH deck just in case somebody ever wants to play. Because people always want to play games with me. That's one of the virtues of who I am.
Paco. Build Paco. You can win with commander damage in cEDH, which is just like the most absurd thing ever.
I mean, I'm probably just gonna build like some top tier elf deck or something.
That's probably
Edric. Edric's like a pretty good deck for.
Yeah, I might build like Edric or Gitrog. But the thing is, the Gitrog's win is so weird.
It's not skill testing to play. It's skill testing to understand.
Yeah, like...
Oh, I won because I have a Dakmor Salvage and a Discard outlet. And then they're like, but how do you win? And you're like, well, one moment, I need to pull out my 69-page paper on,
like, seriously,
on the math behind my win condition.
Gitrog is one of those things where it feels like the old type of, like, Pros Bloomy combo decks or whatever, where you just pull out the 2 cards and they're like, okay, well, scoop and you win, even if you don't have the win condition, just because everybody assumes,
it's exactly like that.
We just know. It's like, look, I put these 2 cards out and everybody's like, okay, well, we're just going to assume that you did it so we don't have to go through the rigmarole. People are always coming to me with like, hey, you guys should ban Thrasios or Tymna or Thrasios and Tymna or change partner or something. And I want to make something really clear, and I probably should have done this like 5 hours ago, is if one of the things is we will never ban a card that is popular in casual lower tiered EDH if it is like absurd to you guys, just because we need to consider the largest group of people playing.
Agreed.
I think that's the correct thing to do.
But people get really mad when I say that. I'm like, it's not that I'm trying to ignore you. It's just that 80% of the people playing this card aren't using it heinously.
People have trouble not focusing on themselves for a bit and realizing the greater goal of the not only the community but like what you guys do as CAG and RC. Like it's tough.
It's kind of like when like Wizards of the Coast says like, well, this product isn't for everyone, and then some people get really angry and other people are like, yeah, you're right, this product isn't for everyone. I think people should really understand that like Commander doesn't exist so cEDH can exist. We are lucky that Commander is so popular because it's what allows us to exist. Like,
I know.
cEDH is able to exist because Commander is successful. It's not the other way around. And so our format is more successful when the ban list follows the philosophy that has been so successful for it up to this point. And I think the difficulty for me, at least, was that Flash aligns so well with that philosophy.
The whole problem with Flash was just 100% branding and messaging and trying to make sure that people don't think we're slippery sloping. And I was like, look, dude, it's a one time and it's worth it. And I hope that you guys prove me right. The thing is, because the
CAG doesn't vote.
Yeah, we don't vote.
And so like those 4 people who've been in charge since the beginning can just be like, hey, remember last time we did this when we all said we weren't going to do this again? How about we don't do it again? And then if they determine that it's the right thing to do, then they were wrong to say it was a one-time thing. And they weren't. And
here's the thing. Those 4 guys, I love all of them dearly. They are deeply, deeply committed to never doing this again. Like, we never want to do a 0-day ban with Lutri again. We never want to do a meta ban with Flash again.
It makes sense.
But we want to make sure if there's one card that's just overwhelming, we're going to look at it, and we're going to take time, and we're going to do our research, and then we're going to kill it. But
you
can't just say, like, yo, I need you to ban this because this deck is winning my store. I'm like, but I have to think about the other 4 million people playing Commander. I think the biggest thing I learned since joining the CAG, and this is probably the thing we should just wrap up on, the biggest and most important thing I've learned is that Commander is bigger than all of us. It's bigger than your local table. It's bigger than your store. It's bigger than the multiple stores you play. It's bigger than the GPs you play at. Commander is so big. And when we make a decision, we have to take into consideration all those players we don't see, all those players who are going to the store for the first time and playing with their deck, all those players who are deeply, deeply enfranchised and play Commander 5 days a week on Discord and whatever. Like, we have to think about everybody. And we have to look at this and say, like, what is best for the format? What will keep this format as strong and thriving as possible? And that was the argument that I made for Flash. I'm like, look, dude, this card is a detriment to our format. It's a detriment to, I don't care what you think of cEDH. I don't care that they're playing Cursed Totem, for God's sakes, and they're doing things that are just not what we consider EDH. That's not the point. The point is they're still playing 98 or 99 cards with a commander, and they're following all of our rules, and their format is on fire, and we have it in our power to take this away and help them.
Yeah.
And so I hope that you guys and the folks at home are happy, and I hope that the air is clear for you, the fog has been lifted, and that once again, y'all can have some weird games of Commander.
Thank you so much for not only joining us here today, but once again, being a spokesperson for us, since we are the minority in this situation, and the fact that we were given
a gift,
accurate representation, and allowed to be at the table for this conversation is a huge boon for our format. This wouldn't have happened 3 years ago, ever.
No.
So this is a huge step for us.
3 years ago, they would have let the house burn. And that wouldn't have happened 3 months ago, let alone a year ago, let alone 3 years ago, right?
Yes.
Like, that's a lot of work that had to be put in. And I hope you guys enjoy it.
Before we go, Shivam, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at GearUpWhereGears, which I'm sure these kind gents will write out somewhere for you, which is just like a Gear Up Where Gears Walker, but with an I in the middle. And I am very receptive, and I respond to basically everybody. Just don't give me an essay on why something should be banned, but I'll read it anyways, and then I'll just kind of sigh. And you can find my podcast, Casual Magic, basically anywhere, Spotify's and iTunes and all that. And I talk about not cEDH, but I might. Maybe one of y'all can come on and casual it up competitively. But yeah, so I talk about relaxed things like chaos drafts or the color blue. So
awesome, Shivam. Thank you
thanks
very
for
much.
having me.
And from everyone here at the cEDH cast, thank you all in the audience and have an amazing week. Bye.